Hi guys, Farmall here. I couldn't really find the paint that I wanted to get for this chassis. They had a darker one of these. This is a Rust-Oleum hammered finish. They used to do a lot of the older chassis with the hammered finish paint. And I probably should have got the darker brown, but I thought this bronze would be a nice color. And it's a little more gray than I had hoped for, but it turned out really nice. It looks really nice. It's kind of got this orange peely effect, which is the hammered, and it's got two coats on it, and it's gloss, and it's fairly smooth. So I'm going to go through the process now of peeling all the masking off, and we'll see what the underside looks like. Alrighty, we've got the chassis almost completely assembled. I don't have the faceplate on here with the dial glass and the pointer, but I got everything else assembled, and I've populated all the tubes. I have not tested the tubes. I wanted to see if I could get the thing to work at all, just the way it is first. So it's been recapped. And that's all I've done is the electrolytics and the paper caps, and I've got it all connected. I got just a clip lead on here for an antenna, and I got the speaker here. The speaker's actually in beautiful shape. I hope it works. I didn't test it or anything, but it may have been reconed, but maybe not. It's in beautiful shape. So anyway, I've got it plugged into the Variac. So we'll turn on the Variac. It's on 0 volts, and this is power and tone. So we'll turn it on and take away the lights a little bit here so we can see if the tubes and pilot light are glowing. So we'll bring this up a little bit here. See the pilot light just starting to glow there. And we're about 25 volts. I don't see any life out of the tubes yet. Oh, this one here is glowing just as, yeah, maybe not. Bring it up to about 50 volts. We should start to see the tubes glowing. Yeah, we can see a little bit of glowing. I don't know if the camera will pick it up. I don't see any glowing out of the 80 rectifier, but I can see some out of this audio amplifier tube here. Turn the volume up. I don't hear any sound out of the speaker, so we'll take her up to I forgot to mention I'm monitoring the DC off the rectifier on that meter right there, right at the filter cap, the first stage. And we're at about 60 volts, and I got about 50 volts on the DC bus. So we'll take this up a little bit. Now we're starting to get some DC. There she comes. About 125 volts DC. So the rectifier is starting to work. You can see this tube is glowing. The 80 is glowing. We're starting to get a little green in the tuning eye there. Let's see if we got any noise. Okay, I'm at about 100 volts, and I got about 250 on the DC. You can see the tuning eye is Nice and green. I still don't hear any audio though. I will take her up. Well, that's about 110. We got about 320 volts on the DC. No response out of the tuning eye. Well, we can see a little bit of movement in the tuning eye. This is phono and radio. Well, I guess we'll have to do some troubleshooting. Because most of the tubes, all the glass tubes are glowing that I can see. There's this metal tube and there's a metal tube back here. I can't see whether they're glowing or not. But, alright, well, I guess I'll have to do some troubleshooting. Stay tuned. Well, unfortunately, I have some bad news. The output transformer primary is open. The secondary measures about 0.2 ohms. I don't know what it's supposed to measure. It says in the chart that it should read a short, which it does. 0.2 ohms is almost a short. But the primary is open. I get zero resistance. I get infinite. Yeah, not zero. Zero is a short. I don't want to confuse anybody. I get infinite resistance, even on the highest scale, which is 1 meg, which is the meter's good for I think 1,000 megs. I get open. Well, I went out and rummaged around in the barn, and I found this transformer first. This is from one of the radio chassis that I scrapped a while back and got a bunch of parts out of. It's good, but it's awful small compared to the old one, and so I'm not sure if the wattage is high enough. The readings are pretty close. It's 570 primary and 2 ohms on the secondary, and that's what I measured when I put it in storage. I didn't check it now, but then I found this one, which I think I got from an old I don't know if it was from a reel-to-reel or some kind of an old communications radio or something, I can't remember. And this is almost the same size as the other one physically, and it's for an 8 ohm speaker, but I measure about 1 ohm on the secondary, and it says 1,000 ohms on the primary, but I get about just about 500, so it's really close to the original, and it's almost the same size. So what I think I'm going to try to do is put the original case on this transformer, because this one is meant to lay down and the original one stood up, and it would look, you know, it looks different. And I'm not sure if the bolt holes are the same, although they're pretty close. But I'm going to try to put this housing on this transformer and put the original wires from the old coil on this transformer so the colors will match. And if it works, I'll probably try to coat this with tar or some kind of a black. I may just paint it black so that it looks original or close to original. You know, it won't be perfect, but that's where we're at, and maybe we'll get some life out of the old girl yet. I've been doing some probing around after I connected up the output transformer that I redid, and I've been going through the resistance chart here, the continuity chart, and most of the numbers are reasonably close. There's a couple that are a little bit off, but not too bad, except in this little sub chart here, which has to do with the radio phono switch. These four in particular are quite a ways off. It's supposed to be like this one here is supposed to be 25K, and I got 80K. And that's supposed to be 175K, and it's supposed to be 100K, and I got 175. But when you open the switch, it's supposed to go to a mag, and I keep 175K. It stays the same. This one's close. This is supposed to be 50K, and I read 100K either way with the switch. And that's supposed to be 80K, and I read 45K either way. So I started probing around, looking at this is basically the underside of the radio if you look into it like this. It's the layout, and going between that and the schematic, I believe there's a problem right in here. This is the 6A8G oscillator modulator tube, and I recapped this capacitor, and that's the only thing that I soldered to this lead here. But there are two resistors going to that lead, and if you look at the layout diagram, there's only one resistor right here, and this cap. This is the cap that I replaced right here, this guy. And there's two resistors. There's one resistor that goes to the phono switch, which is the correct placement for a resistor, but there's another resistor that goes to ground right across this cap. And in the schematic, there is no resistor to ground. That's a 47K, which kind of corroborates with this 45K that I'm reading here to ground. So I'm guessing, I started guessing that something was wrong here. And it may have been a repair attempt or something, somebody was in here working. But I believe that this 45K or 47K resistor does not go to ground, and it's supposed to go to the phono switch, which it would reach there. And that somebody worked on it and accidentally put this resistor here, and then it didn't work at all, and so then they put this resistor in. This is not an original, I don't believe. But I haven't soldered anything to this terminal. I mean, I haven't unsoldered anything from here, so it wasn't a mistake that I made. Of course, I didn't add anything, so I'm going to take this resistor out and put this 47K back up to this terminal where I believe that it goes, and then check my readings again around this tube and see if they're closer to what they need to be. You know, some of the resistors have drifted a little bit, you know, out of tolerance, but they're close enough that they shouldn't be that far off in my chart. So I'm going to attempt to fix this problem and let you know. Alrighty, we are ready for another power-up test. I removed that resistor. Of course I don't see it. Oh, here it is. It fell on the floor. I removed this resistor and reconnected it the way that I think it needed to be. And the readings are a lot closer than what they should be. They're still not perfect, but I think it's more the way it should be. I didn't see any other wiring errors in there. And I checked all the resistors in circuit, and they all measured reasonably close. So, again, we've got it connected through the variac, and again, I'm monitoring the high voltage DC with that meter. So, I'll just turn on the variac. I'm going to turn it on. Power switch. We will fade these lights a little bit. We will bring this up to about, we'll try about 65 volts. And we are getting some DC already. Let's see, about 125 volts DC. The volume all the way up. I don't hear any sounds yet. I don't see any green in my tuning eye. The tubes are glowing slightly. and they've started to conduct because we've dropped back down to only about 65 volts. So we're going to bump up the variac some more. There's about 80 volts. I can hear something. The volume control is a little bit iffy, but it does seem to be doing something. It's possible that volume control is in really bad shape, because if I pull it out and push it in, I get hum and no hum. Alright, well, we'll bump up the AC voltage. There's about 100. We got about 300 DC. There's a definite difference when you flick the phono and radio switch. I'm still not getting anything out, so I'm going to have to do a little more troubleshooting, and maybe I'll test the tubes next, and we'll see where we go from there. But we're getting closer because there's definitely sound out the speaker. Well, I fiddled around a little bit with the volume control, and it turns out if you pull it out, it's where it needs to be. And I still don't get anything on the broadcast band other than some noise. But if I put this in short wave,
to get you wants you to be until tribulations come around and we make the circle again. So, one thing, and then I close with this one thing out of the pulpit commentary. Ancient but hasn't changed. Nova Scotia, who was an invalid for many years.
so it does work. I'm going to go through and test the tubes and probably do an alignment on it, because I'm guessing that it's just off in frequency. So I'll have to put the dial face and everything all back on here, and yeah, we're making progress. It's at least working somewhat. I got one station. So continuing on. Alrighty. We've got the dial glass cleaned up and reinstalled, and I've done an alignment. I've got the fluorescent lights off. These are CFLs because they make a lot of noise in the radio. I'm reasonably happy with the performance, although the lower end of the dial I don't get very much. So I'm suspecting there may be a bad mica cap or two in there. This is just on the broadcast band. That's 1400. That's local. The antenna is only about a mile away from me, so it's got a lot of power. And the last thing I get's around 890. And there's some stations there, but they're very weak. And then there's nothing down here. So I'm suspecting that there's probably bad mica caps in there. I think I ran into that with the Philco. If we go over to shortwave, and this is just with a 2-foot piece of wire hanging up here. French. There it is again. That's on 2 channels. So there's that anyway. I think I'll do a little testing underneath the chassis on a couple of the mica caps in and around the tuning section for the broadcast band, and see if we can't find one or two that may be bad. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with it. I haven't done anything with the push buttons to set any of them, but yeah, it seems to work pretty good. All the tubes tested very well. They all test very strong. The eye doesn't. It's a dual window eye, and there's supposed to be one window is for weak stations and the other window is for strong stations. But it doesn't seem to deflect very much, so I'm not sure if there's an issue there or if it's just because I don't have a very good antenna on it. There's the transformer. That didn't come out too awful bad. You know, some of the tar and stuff chipped off from it, but it does seem to work, so that's great. So yeah, I'm gonna probe around a little bit under the chassis and see what I can find out. Well, I did some probing underneath the chassis and couldn't really see anything that was way out. There was even a 2% resistor, or a 2% capacitor under there that measured within 1% of what it was supposed to be. Excuse me. So I'm going to say it just needs a longer antenna, or there's nothing on the lower end of the band. I didn't find any bad components. There could be in the IF cans. There's some mica caps. They're usually part of the can inside, and they may be a little bit off, but I didn't tear them apart. I'm going to leave it alone. It works fairly well.
Active guards, 300 to 500 retired cops carry concealed.
I mean, there's stuff on the lower end of the band with a longer antenna.
Dogs around the block. Rhoda is a budget guy? Is that what Rudy Giuliani is telling you?
He's telling us this is a guy who really knows the city's finances, and he's all...
Yeah, we've been closed down. Otherwise, mostly sunny, high 43. Clear skies tomorrow night.
So, I'm going to say that's good. I may work on the tuning eye a little bit to see if I can get that to deflect. But I mean, the radio works, and I'm going to move on to the cabinet, I guess. Spruce that up a little bit. And, yeah, we'll go from there. So that'll probably do it for this section. I'll upload this, so thanks for watching and tune in for the next part.